every year in the city of New Orleans.
I was scared, like my heart dropped. It really dropped.
Hundreds of people become armed robbery victims.
Then he pulled out a gun and said, "Give me the keys to the car."
Victims of armed robbery say they felt terrified and violated.
One of them yanking on my purse and the other one holding what looked like a gun, like about, I don't know, 18 inches from my face. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "You gotta be kidding."
Oftentimes, they say the experience changed their lives.
It's more of a helpless feeling than a scared feeling for me, personally. I mean, they were going through my pockets and touching me, and I felt violated for that.
Fox 8 began tracking armed robberies across the city more than 18 months ago, breaking down the numbers to show exactly where the violent crimes were happening and how often. In this Crimetracker investigation, Fox 8 obtained and analyzed every incident report number, location, and time of day for armed robberies across the city from January 1st, 2014 to now.
There's a lot of crime that comes on the street. You just be walking by and somebody's gonna mug you. You know, I mean, it's a dangerous situation. Nowadays, they shoot you.
Data shows a dramatic increase in armed robbery incidents from 2013 to 2014, a 37% spike.
Today's criminals are far more brazen than they used to be, and with the shrinking police department and our resources being stretched thin, perhaps they took advantage of that.
Police tell Fox 8 in most cases the same gunman will commit multiple armed robberies until they're caught. Police say this masked man robbed at least 6 businesses at gunpoint in the Carrollton area last year.
Hey, bro. Okay. Open the door. I'm down. I'm gonna go open it. No. I'm gonna go open it.
And they became more brazen and committing armed robberies in daylight in areas where we didn't used to see, at times we didn't used to see.
We created a map that you can access on our website showing the sheer number of incidents. The gun icon represents armed robberies with a gun. The knife icon, armed robberies with a knife, and cars for carjackings. In all of last year, there were 1,022 incidents. The highest concentration of armed robberies in 2014 happened right here in the Marigny and also the French Quarter. It's also the place where thousands of tourists visit every year. In fact, from Esplanade to Canal Street on Bourbon, police investigated 10 armed robberies in 2014.
I've had people that work here have said that they've seen people been mugged and held up stuff.
Less than a week into 2015, armed gunmen busted into Buffa's Bar and Restaurant on Esplanade in the Marigny. The bar full of patrons.
It's just pretty scary when you look at a barrel of a gun. You don't think about it, you see it in TV, but it's nothing when it's in your face.
He was using the gun to push a patron's head to the bar, and he got his wallet.
Frustration began to grow among those who live and work in the area.
We put some initiatives in place. If you notice, at the end of December, we created the Field Operations Bureau Task Force with 8 members. We saw some successes because we were apprehending some of the persons committing those robberies, so we increased it to 16 per night.
Reserve officers, along with state troopers and NOLA patrol, began patrolling the French Quarter with a goal of targeting armed robbery suspects in the 8th District. Fox 8 looked specifically at those numbers in the 8th District from the same time period. Here's how it breaks down. During the second half of 2014, 162 incidents happened. That number decreased in the last 6 months, with 127 armed robberies.
The visibility is increased. The deterrent effect is present. You see police cars everywhere you go because there are just more officers. And so as we grow, we gave more officers to the French Quarter.
While it's a reduction, there are more armed robberies in the 8th District than any other district in the city. This is a map of all armed robberies from the first 6 months of this year, a total of 406. To really see what's going on, you have to zoom into a neighborhood. Some districts show a pretty dramatic decrease. Take the 6th District that covers the Irish Channel, Central City, and the Garden District, where armed robberies were nearly cut in half from 45 in the last 6 months of 2014 to 20 so far this year. Look at the 4th District of Algiers, where 39 armed robberies were reported during the last half of 2014. So far this year, the NOPD's investigated 12.
We were able to take the street gang unit, add them to the 4th District. We were able to take the SWAT team and tactical units, put them there. There were narcotics detectives working undercover in those areas for periods of time.
It's a far different story in the 3rd District, which covers Lakeview and Gentilly. The numbers went up 26% compared to the same time period last year. In the 2nd District of Uptown, the numbers rose from 25 the first 6 months of 2014 to 32 the second half of the year to 42 over the last 6 months, a 68% increase.
I think criminals are just that brazen these days. They're not afraid of, they appear to not be afraid of police. They appear to want to commit these acts in broad daylight, and it doesn't really matter to them. What we want to send the message to them is that we're going to pursue you relentlessly, and we're going to catch you, and we're going to stop you.
Even with a committed focus from the NOPD to stop it, hundreds of people have already become victims so far this year. Hundreds more will likely be held up before 2015 is over. We want to stress you can find out exactly what's going on in your neighborhood, on your street, by simply going to our website. Here's how to do it. Find this story on fox8live.com. You'll see the map at the top of the page. Type your address in the search box in the upper right-hand corner. For right now, we'll use the 500 block of Bourbon Street. Click on that, and the map will zoom in. You can see all of the incidents that happened in that particular area. You can also click on an icon to find out details about that particular incident. We'll continue to do this Crimetracker report for communities throughout the metro area, and these maps will always be available on our website, fox8live.com. Back to you.
First time was about 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago.
Fatma Aiden says she became a victim not once, not twice, but 3 times this year.
So he came down the steps, and I have huge garbage cans. He filled his garbage cans with all the goods, including I had 2 hurricane, during the hurricane I bought these generators. He took 2 of the generators that had its own wheels. So he just loaded into the garbage cans and then moved out.
Aiden describes the first incident, and then it happened again and again. In all, she believes the thieves stole about $12,000 worth of stuff from her St. Claude Avenue restaurant.
And you know, small restaurant like that, $12,000 in 3 months is a lot of money.
Aiden isn't alone. In fact, on the same block as her St. Claude Avenue business, thieves broke into 4 other businesses this year.
The person who does that can do anything. If they have that mind that gonna go get something, they're gonna go get it.
In this special Crimetracker investigation, Fox 8 compiled 18 months of burglary data from the city of New Orleans. Analyzing the incident report numbers, dates, and locations for all burglaries in 2014 and the first 6 months of this year, we get a better idea of where they're happening and how often. One quick glance at this map, and you can see the sheer number of incidents. Over the 18 months, victims reported 8,960 burglaries. The most happened in the 8th District, which includes the French Quarter and Marigny, where Aiden's restaurant is located.
When they're coming in and doing it armed and carrying weapons around, it is scary.
Chilling surveillance video shows car burglars on Bancroft Drive in Lakeview.
It's scary to see where this thing could spin up to. I know myself and other neighbors are, especially the ones that I know that were broken into, the level of anger is starting to increase.
Lakeview is the 3rd district where police investigated 1,193 burglaries. Nearly half of those incidents, car break-ins. Police say most car break-ins are crimes of opportunity, where car doors are simply left unlocked. In the 7th district, residential burglaries in New Orleans East top the list with 790.
One of our lawn chairs were stolen off just right outside our patio. The cable lines were cut for our unit, maybe two other units, so it's just vandalism.
In a recent high-profile home burglary in New Orleans East, police say one homeowner fought back.
I was sleeping in my bed, and I heard 2 shots went off. And what happened, I got up, and this young man was laying on the ground.
Investigators say the homeowner chased 3 suspects into the backyard and then opened fire when he thought one of the men reached for a gun.
We need to do something with the young people around here. We need to get them more active in doing something where they won't be out here with this craziness.
Pam Reed and her husband became burglary victims in the 1st District on Bienville Street earlier this year.
So they sat right back here on the ground, drinking beer, and unscrewed this panel and pulled it off.
They were among 226 other homeowners victimized in the last 18 months. Reed says thieves stole her husband's work tools.
And so my husband, who was trying to make a career change, a major career change, has been put on a sideline for it all summer. And in the meantime, now he's looking for shops, but we were looking to buy a house, and now it's like, okay, well, I guess we'll hold on buying a house because now we need to spend the money on renting a shop. So it definitely damaged us moving forward.
Uptown in the 2nd Police District.
I was upstairs in my room sleeping when they came in, and I came downstairs to crying girls who said that they had been robbed and they were untying themselves.
Tulane University sent out a warning to students as the NOPD investigated an aggravated burglary on Panola Street. 3 co-eds tied up and robbed last year.
It's just scary because you think, you've become lax because you live in a neighborhood that nothing ever happens, and then something like this happens, and of course then you have to be more vigilant.
Just earlier this month, a Tulane student in the 1000 block of Pine Street woke up just before 5 a.m. to find an intruder's hands on her throat.
My roommates and we used to only lock our front main door, but now ever since I got that, I definitely lock the inside door as well.
Burglaries in the 2nd District have trended up over the last 18 months. Check out this graph. You can see the upward trend from January of 2014 through the middle of 2015. That is not the case in the 8th District. Remember, more burglaries are committed in the 8th District than any other district in the city. But this graph shows a pretty dramatic drop in burglary incidents over the past year and a half. Victims believe it will take more than just police to stop the crimes, affecting thousands across the city every year.
So I don't know that everybody needs to be worried about that, but I do think neighbors have to learn to start supporting each other, and keep an eye out, It's the best you can do.
You should check out what's happening in your neighborhood right next door to your home or business. Fox 8 is giving you the tools to do that. Log on to our website at fox8live.com. Find this Crimetracker investigation and click on the map. Type your address. We'll look at one of the areas highlighted in our story, 2372 St. Claude. When the map zooms in, you can count. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 burglaries on that block. Click on the icons and you can get additional information. Also on our website, you can find graphs showing what time of day or month these crimes are happening in the most. The results may surprise you, so don't forget to check it out on our website, fox8live.com. Back to you.
They held the gun to my head and said, "I will blow your beeping head off."
A carjacking victim describes the horror of an attack on a quiet uptown street.
I'm relatively petite, and I had a big purse, and I didn't see them.
Her car was stolen and eventually recovered, but she says the memory of that horrible day will likely stay with her forever. This victim isn't alone. In this special Crimetracker investigation, Fox 8 obtained the incident report numbers, locations, and time of day for every carjacking since January 1st of 2014 through December 1st of this year. In the 23-month period, there have been 203 incidents.
I don't know why they like my car.
In some cases, the same victim's been hit multiple times. In a 5-week period, this 89-year-old man became a carjacking victim twice.
He told me, get out. He came around and got in the driver's seat, and I got out my car. He left.
The World War II veteran says he feels like a target.
They got me picked out.
On average, carjackers are striking about 9 times each month. In November, though, that number's much different. Police investigated 22 carjackings last month. Compare that number to just 3 carjackings in all of February of this year.
Jumped in the car and then held a gun to her and told her that he was going to kill her. Her purse and her ID and her credit cards were in there.
The crimes are affecting every district across New Orleans. They're also happening in some places you may not expect.
We do consider this a safe haven and a very safe public place, so it's just a little surprising.
It was just before 8:30 when police say a pair of criminals drove up alongside a victim on the long drive in front of the New Orleans Museum of Modern Art.
And especially with the parks, like you would hope that people would feel like it's a place where people can come and spread a blanket and have a good time and not worry about their purse being taken or something going into their car.
You're most likely to be a victim of carjacking between 9 and 10 o'clock at night. The least amount of carjackings happen between 7 a.m. and noon.
If you're thoughtful, it makes you a little bit afraid to just venture out at night.
It seems as though that is the signs of the times. It's happening everywhere.
It still seems like a bad dream, like it didn't really happen. I keep waiting to wake up and see that, everything's okay.
Neighbors in disbelief. A father and son murdered inside of their Metairie home.
I'm just still walking around in a daze.
Can't believe it. Incomprehensible.
Sheriff Newell Norman says while investigating, detectives noticed several vehicle burglaries reported around the same time on the night of the killings. The sheriff believes the suspects were drawn to the area to commit car burglaries. Neighbors seem caught off guard. That's because in all of last year, burglars stayed away from the 3700 block of Clifford Drive. Even along the surrounding streets, there were just a few incidents reported in the Metairie neighborhood. In this special Crimetracker investigation, Fox 8 obtained the incident report numbers, locations, and time of day for every burglary in unincorporated Jefferson Parish last year. The colored dots on this map show the sheer number of crimes across the parish, excluding incorporated areas like Gretna, West Wego, Harahan, Kenner, Grand Isle, and Lafitte. Red dots on the map show car burglaries. Blue dots represent home burglaries. Green dots, business burglaries. In all, there were nearly 4,000.
They brazen. They have no regard for people's lives. They come in and just break into your business and trash it and take whatever they think is theirs.
They stayed in here an hour. I was in the back.
A.J. Gonsolin says he feels lucky to be alive. Gonsolin, the owner of Bon Prix Auto Sales on Airline Drive, just happened to be in a back room doing paperwork one night when burglars came busting through his office window.
Very scary. I didn't sleep for 3 months after that.
Audio on his surveillance cameras picks up what appears to be a conversation between the two robbers as they sorted through car keys hanging on the wall. They soon notice the camera, and one of the men reaches up and turns it away. Cameras, though, are everywhere in Gonsolin's business. They're rolling in his warehouse as the burglars walk into frame. These images, even more scary. You can see the men armed with guns, and it's also the room where Gonsolin was located.
I heard some noise, and I came out the office, and I spooked them. The young man had a gun in his hand. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and he just ran.
Both men seen on a different camera scaling a 12-foot fence to get away. Gonsolin was left shaken.
If he wouldn't have ran, all he had to do was lift up his hand and pull the trigger, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be gone.
Gonsolin says the same burglars returned 3 different times, once ramming his back gate to get in.
Financially, it's a burden. I spent quite a bit of money enhancing my security systems after that, and mentally it takes a burden on your on wondering if they're going to come back and keep coming back, and one day you're not going to make it through it.
An overview of our map shows burglary incidents scattered throughout the parish, but the crime is more concentrated in some areas. Take this spot between Clearview and Cleary around the I-10. We found 72 burglaries.
People leave their cars open and their houses unlocked because they're not accustomed to a significant amount of crime. In fact, in many neighborhoods, no crime at all. And there's a false sense of security that falls in, and we let our guard down.
It's very scary, extremely scary.
A rash of car burglaries last August in the 100 to 300 block of Metairie Lawn Drive took neighbors aback, especially when they saw this surveillance video. The suspects, guns drawn, target unlocked cars in Old Metairie.
To see them go through my car like that, and the fact that they had guns, you know, and I mean, they were in my car, fully in my car, rifling through it.
More burglaries have happened along Veterans Boulevard than any other roadway in Jefferson Parish. Veterans is primarily a commercial corridor, but burglars aren't targeting businesses here. In fact, of the 91 reported burglaries in Jefferson Parish, 82 of them have been car burglaries. On the West Bank,
it's hard when you work hard for something that's yours, and somebody gonna just come in and just take what you have.
the criminals hit a nerve with Carlette Landry.
Oh, it's time for it to stop.
She lives here at the Emerald Point Apartments. Of the close to 4,000 addresses we obtained, deputies visited this apartment complex more than any other, 24 times.
Wow, it's really ridiculous. I know the police are always here in our complex. We have security, which is Jefferson Parish.
I think the stealing is people that probably don't live here.
Landry says thieves stole a table and tablet from her already, and she says burglars broke into her neighbor's apartment.
This was in the daytime. One of my neighbors told me, said, it happened in broad daylight.
In fact, a third of all burglaries in Jefferson Parish are happening between the hours of 7 and 11 a.m.
So this is too bold, and it's time for it to stop.
The West Bank Expressway runs about 11 miles through Jefferson Parish. On the West Bank, the most burglaries have happened along this stretch of roadway. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office investigated 57 of them in a 12-month period. The criminals are targeting vehicles, a lot more than homes or businesses. In 2014, there were 2,260 car burglaries compared to 1,493 home burglaries. The sheriff says oftentimes car break-ins are preventable.
You've heard me say many times that the issue is that we're not locking our cars, so it becomes a crime of opportunity. Folks are specifically coming to our neighborhoods to try and pull those burglars.
Victims of business burglaries like A.J. Gonsolin says he's doing what he can to stop it.
I mean, I have 12-foot fences, I have 16 cameras, I have a security alarm system that goes off, but yet they're still managing to pierce the security. So you tell me.
He worries it may never end. It's video that made national headlines.
The burglar forgot to wear a mask, so he grabbed the bucket from the other room.
Late night talk shows couldn't help but expose this guy, dressed in camo, wearing gloves and a bucket on his head to burglarize Kenny's Seafood in Slidell back in 2013. Since then, no other burglary in St. Tammany Parish has gotten quite as much attention. Still, it's happening across the North Shore and affecting people in neighborhoods you might not expect.
From most of our residents, they'll never be impacted by a crime. But when your privacy, when your home is invaded by an individual, we're left many times to imagine, what if I would have walked in and that individual, or worse than that, what if my wife and children would have walked in and that individual is still in the home?
In this Crimetracker investigation, Fox 8 obtained the incident report numbers, time of day, and location for every burglary in unincorporated St. Tammany Parish from last year. We've also obtained the same information for some of the incorporated areas, including Slidell, Mandeville, and Covington.
Generally, when you see burglaries in St. Tammany Parish, they're a result of someone either leaving their doors unlocked or, leaving the windows open on the home.
Sheriff Jack Strain says oftentimes the same burglar will strike again and again until they're caught. That's exactly what detectives say happened back in June of last year, when the same 5 burglars are accused of targeting more than 6 dozen cars and 4 businesses.
Gives you goosebumps when you walk in. Feels like you've been violated. When we pull in, we open the door, and knives are laying all over, and there's a hole punched in the wall.
Craig Young of Young's Steakhouse in Slidell became one of the victims when those burglars found a unique and damaging way to break in.
This is where they went through. It's only, 8 to 10 inches wide by about 12 to 14 inches long. And so they had to be a little small guy to get through.
First, entering through the ventilation system. Young says a burglar then punched a hole in the wall and climbed through it to unlock the door so that others could get inside. Those same burglars allegedly struck 76 other times, targeting 15 subdivisions, including Quail Creek, near Mandeville Middle School. Again, most of them vehicle burglaries.
There's a lot of teenagers that hang out around here, but I can't believe they got into 77. That's kind of a lot.
Detectives say the burglars never even had to work hard to break into the vehicles, each one simply unlocked. Sheriff Strain says in most cases, vehicle burglaries are crimes of opportunity.
So before any of that happens, let's take the first steps in locking our doors and removing those valuable items from our automobiles.
Of the 447 home burglaries in St. Tammany Parish, 3 of them happened in the Beauchene neighborhood, where some of the area is behind gates with private security.
Many of our residents work during the day and home at night, so that makes them sometimes a target in the daytime. That's why we have to make sure that we double our efforts to get our deputies into those communities.
In Mandeville city limits, police investigated not 1 but 4 incidents within a month's time at Steve Sperrier's bike shop. Spokesman:
I got a call from the Mandeville police at 6 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, your window's broken.
Sperrier found the window bashed in and the cash register stolen.
The most he could have gotten was $7.20. So he smashed my window, which was $400 for that. Came in, took the change drawer, which was $65, so $465 to steal $7.20.
Ironically, the next day, he says someone tried to drill out the locks on his back door. A week later, he found a screwdriver at the front door where someone tried to get in again. Then the burglar finally succeeded on December 15th when he came back for a 3rd time and smashed the front window.
And he came in, he grabbed this bike and took it out the door. And at that time, the alarm went off. I got up here, it was like 12:30 in the morning. And so my bike was gone, and then I didn't have any way to cover up the door, so I had to back my truck up all the way to the door, and I spent the second half of the night in the truck.
Despite the frustration and all of the money Sperrier spent on repairing his place, he says he's glad to know the burglar's been caught. There were 10 other business burglaries last year in Mandeville city limits. Covington police investigated 9 business burglaries and 30 residential burglaries.
I was in the bed and I heard something on my window.
Tommy Key says a burglar tried to steal her air conditioner last year. And when police caught him, she learned it was the same guy responsible for a burglary on West 28th Street. In the city limits of Covington, the most burglaries occurred along South Yankee Avenue. Of the 11 incidents, 9 of them were car burglaries.
It can happen anywhere. A lot of times the subdivisions here in Slidell that we've seen that were targeted are nicer subdivisions.
In Slidell, this neighborhood on Spartan Loop and Spartan Drive became a target for car burglars. 13 vehicles hit in one night.
And again, crime of opportunity, they were hitting vehicles that were left unlocked, and their primary target was items of value, which are guns and computers, laptops, those type of things.
Slidell Police Chief Randy Smith says a combination of surveillance videos and vigilant residents are helping officers solve these cases. With nearly 300 incidents in 2014, Smith says the criminals are often drug addicts.
Most of the arrests that we make dealing with burglaries here in Slidell, that the common denominator for these break-ins are usually drugs.
Across unincorporated St. Tammany Parish and the cities of Slidell, Mandeville, and Covington, there were 1,441 burglaries in all of last year.